You likely know the legend, Grigory Rasputin, the demonic, immortal mystic who pulled the strings of the Russian monarchy. He's the mad monk who supposedly consumed a platter of cyanide-laced cakes, took a bullet directly to the chest, and still rose from the dead to attack his killers, before eventually drowning in a frozen river. But recently uncovered Russian police and government archives tell a very different story. The immortal devil of St. Petersburg didn't actually exist. The myth of the mad monk was actually a calculated, century-old political smear campaign, meticulously engineered by the Russian elite to destroy him. Beneath the ghost stories was an uneducated, illiterate peasant from a remote, impoverished village in Siberia. To understand the actual threat he posed to an empire, we have to strip away the supernatural folklore and look at the deeply flawed, ordinary human underneath. The Romanov family's connection to Rasputin was built entirely on desperation. Tsar Nicholas and Tsarina Alexandra's only son, Alexei, suffered from agonizing bouts of the royal disease. Alexei had hemophilia. His body lacked the genetic instructions to form blood clots, meaning a simple fall or a bruised knee could trigger excruciating and potentially fatal internal bleeding. This simplified medical animation shows a hemophilia's bloodstream failing to clot. Legend says Rasputin used dark magic, but reality lies in doctors prescribing aspirin, a potent blood thinner. By ordering doctors to leave the boy alone, Rasputin inadvertently stopped the exact medication worsening the bleeding. Rasputin's greatest miracle was an accidental medical success. He didn't cure the heir with divine intervention. He simply blocked a harmful modern treatment. Without supernatural healing to explain his presence at the palace, the aristocracy invented their own explanation, a scandalous romance between the peasant and Tsarina Alexandra. Declassified police files reveal that these rumors were entirely manufactured. The local police chief, disgusted that a commoner held influence in the royal circle, ordered his officers to invent increasingly wild stories about Rasputin's behavior in their official reports. The most famous of these stories, that an outrageously drunk Rasputin exposed himself in the middle of a Moscow hotel, is completely absent from the actual police logs of that night. Historians confirm it never happened. Rasputin certainly drank heavily and frequented brothels, but the Russian elite took those lower-class vices and successfully weaponized them to invent stories of high treason. By 1916, that manufactured outrage culminated in an assassination plot led by Felix Yusupov, a man belonging to the richest family in all of Russia. Yusupov later published the legendary account of that night. He claimed Rasputin ate cakes loaded with enough cyanide to kill a horse, took a revolver shot directly to the heart, and still crawled on all fours to attack his terrified killers. Forensic and historical evidence shatters that narrative. There was no proof Rasputin was ever poisoned. He was simply lured into a basement and shot by a group of heavily armed men. Yusupov wrote his exaggerated memoirs to justify what was, in reality, a messy political hit. By painting Rasputin as a literal demon, Yusupov cast himself as a holy savior ridding the world of evil. The immortal devil who terrorized the palace was an unarmed man, murdered in cold blood by terrified aristocrats. The aristocrats was terrified because the Russian Empire was actively collapsing under the catastrophic death toll and economic ruin of the First World War. Tsar Nicholas had taken personal command of the army. Every battlefield loss, every supply shortage, and every retreating unit traced directly back to the monarchy's leadership. The Russian elite faced a severe psychological crisis. Admitting the war was failing meant admitting their own systemic incompetence was destroying the country, so they found a target for their national outrage. A crude, scandal-ridden peasant who had wandered into the highest echelons of power was the perfect sponge to absorb the blame for a dying empire. Murdering Rasputin did absolutely nothing to slow the collapse. Within months, the war efforts completely unraveled, and the Romanov monarchy was violently overthrown. Rasputin was a serial predator and a chronic drunk, but he did not single-handedly destroy Russia. The enduring legend of the mad monk proves how easily a failing government can invent an immortal monster to avoid looking in the mirror.